If you see misery and stress as a part of life, then unfortunately you're blindsided to it, you're brainwashed. Sorry to say, because that's not how life is supposed to be. Life is supposed to be joyous, life is supposed to be full of happiness, life is supposed to be of love. These expressions are what we're born with, but unfortunately, we live in a world where we have so much external energy around us. We take on so much misery, we take on so much stress that it changes our internal chemistry. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wiser Together. This is your host, Parmeet Kumar, with your co host, Anas Pasha. Thank you all for joining us and being a part of this. We truly appreciate your support. As you can see, we're recording another podcast in person. I've come here in Dubai and we've got an opportunity to do this in person, which is absolutely brilliant. Obviously, there's a lot of challenges doing it online. So, certainly, this is a nice environment to do it in as well, and we can exchange energy very potently.
For
Uh,
sure. I mean, seeing you here in person is very surreal. I mean, just apart from Wiser Together, seeing and meeting him as a friend, as my brother after a year and doing things with him is just surreal. So definitely. And apart from that, ever since Parmeet has been here, we've been quite busy, right?
yeah, I mean, we started this journey earlier this year, and obviously, as you start something new, you're trying to get a hold of your footing, trying to understand new things, basically trying to figure out stuff. So that is what we were doing, and now with that we've come here, we're deciding on our next steps, what to do ahead. So now that we are here, we're also working on different ways that we can enhance our understanding on the subject matter that we talk about, which is just wellness and overcoming your mind, and basically different ways of being happy and reducing different stresses of life. And so we are trying different things. And
Yes,
one
sir.
of the things that we did yesterday was go to a Sadhguru event. So we just wanted to share that with you guys, how it was and what our experience was,
For
the
sure.
insights we gathered from him.
Yeah.
If you
It,
don't know, Sadhguru is a
no,
spiritual
I would
teacher.
say
If you will,
spiritual. Yeah. Nothing to do with religion, for sure.
yeah, definitely
Yeah.
spiritual teacher, and certainly the if you were to relay his message in a few words, it's basically there's sort of, I see some similarity between our message and his message, which is basically he's just encouraging people to going within,
Mm.
to go out, to live a better life outside, and all the answers that you can find to all the stresses and different situations of life outside is by going within. And how he gets to that conclusion, we'll come to that at the end of
Yeah.
the podcast.
Yeah,
So
for sure. So it was in Coca Cola Arena in Dubai, usually where concerts and everything happen, and the
yeah,
capacity is like 20,000, and we could see that it was like 80,
70%, 75%,
yeah,
yeah,
70 to
80%,
75%.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
was
was full,
crowded, yeah,
which is, and we were like reflecting on this, which is quite extraordinary. I mean, this, keep in mind, guys, this isn't a concert.
yeah,
Everyone was for 5 hours. So
yeah,
that's like a lot of time and dedication. And so Sadhguru is Indian, and as we know,
yes,
India is a quite mystic, and like it has
spiritual
these,
place,
yeah, it
yeah,
has these individuals which are just wonderful. But the nationalities that we saw, like it was just a mixed bunch of
yeah.
people. So that was very interesting to
I
see
was
as well.
surprised to see a
Yeah.
lot of Russians
Mm,
there,
yeah.
and they seemed very devoted, because even though they didn't understand English, I can say that because the people sitting next to me, they had their phone on,
Mm.
and they had an app that was translating English to their local language, and then they were reading off of their phone to understand what Sadhguru was saying. So that requires quite a bit of dedication, having an idol from a different language in a different country that you don't
Yeah.
really even understand.
And I mean, that goes to show that these guys are here for something. I mean, you don't normally come for 5 hours, and like Parmeet said, that have like a Google Translator open on your phone and go
Yeah,
to such length to not extract something out of it. And I guess we'll come towards it at the end of the episode about what happened. But so basically, like the entire agenda of the event was that this was for 5 hours, as I mentioned, but out of those 5 hours, 45 minutes during the last were dedicated towards meditation.
Hmm.
And we'll come to this in the end, what happened during
Yeah.
meditation, which really like I think gives us an answer as to what people were searching for that in the event.
Yeah. Certainly, like you mentioned, I think it's very hard, especially in today's day and age, to gather that number of people for 5 hours to just sit and listen to
Listen.
someone talk for 4 hours and then doing the meditation. So I do give him some credit though, because he has a comedic side to him, so
Oh,
he does make some of the conversation interesting. Otherwise, the lecture would have been boring.
I mean, look, about a month ago, I also went to Coca Cola Arena to Trevor Noah's. He's a stand up comedian, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't find him as funny as Sadhguru. The analogies and the things that he was sharing, we'll get to it if he ever, if the though if those jokes or those analogies are part of
Well,
the podcast, but
yeah.
they were really funny and kept us entertained throughout the time.
Yeah, certainly. And I feel like he didn't even have a script. He spoke for like 4 hours
4 hours
without any script. I'm
effortlessly,
sure, yeah, effortlessly. And he was
effortlessly.
going, and it seems like he's done this countless number of times. So he just knows how to take this and how to structure it. Perhaps he didn't have a structure on paper, but certainly in his mind, he knew how to navigate the crowd to the point where everybody's energies combine and they want to meditate together. So let's start with initially the welcome and the message. Everybody, certainly people were there were huge devotees of him. We just want to put a disclaimer out there. We're not followers of Sadhguru or anything like that. We've concluded which we'll come to in the end. So let's leave that to the end. But certainly a huge following, and then he came. Everybody welcomed him, and yeah, let's start with the talk. So the talk was focused on. He essentially started from the angle of how there is an epidemic of people not knowing how to take control of themselves,
Correct.
and people being a product of their circumstances, and people being so heavily affected and influenced by their surrounding that they absolutely have no control over their own sense of being or their own feelings and emotions and energy, which is certainly very concerning, right?
Oh, it was immensely concerning because look, the thing about these seminars or talks is that when we're also doing the podcast and we're also talking about similar themes, right? Overcoming your mind, mastering your mind. It was just pretty evident over there over how Sadhguru was genuinely concerned because the entire theme of the show was that in is the only way out.
Hmm.
And I mean, what Parmeet mentioned, since this is something that we're trying to achieve as well, so everything that he said was quite relatable. He kept on saying that we are fascinated by our misery and we're
Yeah.
too attached by our misery, especially in this modern day and age where we look for chemicals for happiness, basically exogenous things, external things, be it a tablet, alcohol, anything, friends, family, anything like, especially chemicals. His entire thing was to focus on inwards rather than outwards. So that was like the main theme of the
Yeah.
entire like 5 hours.
Yeah, he certainly shared his story as well, and the point of the whole lecture was to understand that how you if, essentially you can only have control over your own emotions, energy, and sense of being. I cannot have any control over how Anas feels, or vice versa. I cannot have any control over how my friends feel or how people around me feel. And it just goes to because he kept saying this one thing, that you will never, people around you, or no, nothing outside of you will
Oh,
ever be 100% how you want it to be.
yeah.
And he also kept discussing how there's this 16-year-old or teenager, perhaps young boys or girls have this imagination and think that there's a perfect one that exists
Hmm.
outside that they're trying to find. And certainly that myth he busted, that is not true. Nothing outside of you ever will be 100% how you want it to be, right? And because it's not going to be how you want it to be, and you attach a certain get attached to a certain outcome, when it doesn't go your way, that leads to misery, that leads to stress, that leads to uh, feelings of sadness, or basically negative energy, right?
Yeah.
uh, but at the end of the day, it just comes down to having a realization that the outside is not in your control, the inside is in your control. However things pan out outside, it doesn't matter. But you can what matters is, in what you can control, is how that affects you within, be it negative or positive. So
It was quite extraordinary. You see, like what Parmeet just mentioned was a segment of his talk where he was talking about loneliness. He said that in the US, at least, because this is where most of the statistics are originating from,
yeah,
that two out of every two people, one is lonely. So he was pointing to all of us in the crowd. He's like, out of you two, one is going to feel lonely, and it was quite true, because we have this saying that, even if you're with 1,000 people, you might still feel alone and lonely. And this is what he meant. He said that we're always trying to look for the right person, the perfect person, which
yeah,
Parmeet said that out of our control, no one is going to be 100% exactly what we'd like to be. So he said that that's okay. Just this relationship and everything is about give or take and understanding a little bit. He mentioned something which I also truly agree with. He said that it has to be like your stake, or like what he meant is that what you like about them should be like at 51%, right? More than what you like, so that it is like that. And at
yeah.
max it should be like 60%.
More aligned with you, yeah.
Yeah, more aligned with you, like 60% of what you like
That
about
was
that
also
person.
like a rough analogy.
Rough
Take
analogy,
it as
yeah.
an example, of course.
Exactly, because he said that if it's more than that, then, and if you try to mold that person more than, let's say, 60%,
That's slavery.
yeah, that's slavery, and they'll just eventually leave, which we always are referring to in a way of like toxic relationship or toxic
Yeah.
friendship. So this is what he said. He said that people are lonely because we're trying to find the right person, we're trying to get them to be more than that 60%, and then at the end we're just left with nothing. So he said that because essentially his idea of saying these things was that we should be happy. Happiness is something that we should all deserve, and if we were happy as a child, as a toddler, that happiness should quadruple, should like have a
As you
compound
grow,
as you
yeah,
grow. Yeah, it
yeah,
shouldn't diminish,
yeah,
which was very interesting, and
yeah.
it's so true.
Essentially, like, uh, that I found very fascinating as well. But because, like, when a child is born on this planet, that is the most purest form of being
Hmm.
that hasn't gone through any form of conditioning or brainwashing or opinions from this side, opinions from that side, any sort of, no information has been fed to that person as a whole. So innately, the core expression or the baseline expression of that human being, without having any external influence over it, is happiness, is joy,
Definitely.
without needing anything from outside. And kids are very, it's always, I work with a lot of kids in Sydney. I'm a soccer coach as well, so I'm always fascinated seeing them, how little do they need just to express joy and happiness, and there's no stress in life. So, and certainly as we grow old, we worry about X, Y, and Z. There's work, there's family, there's ambitions, blah, blah, blah. So many things that we have to do. We lose the core purpose of life, which is just to be a happy human being, a joyous human being, not just for yourself, because if you do have that energy, that's the energy you emit around you, and people around you benefit from that as well.
It was extraordinary because you see, he said that most of the successful people that we know wear misery on their face.
Yes.
And he said that, our children, like what Parmeet was talking about. Now, just imagine Parmeet showing up to those soccer practices with a very
With,
frowned
yeah,
upon face or stressed out face.
yeah.
Now, what is that communicating to the child? What is communicating is that when they're going to be Parmeet's age or at a similar age, they might also have that particular phase. So why should I work as hard as per me, or have these beliefs, or
Just to
have
be
these
miserable.
exactly just to be miserable? I can just be playing soccer, just be chilling all the time, and just have this happy phase. So what he was again, like there are so many golden nuggets just flowing here and there. And he said that, like as you're growing up, learn to be happy. There are some basic tools and tips that he gave. We're going to share, we keep on sharing those. But he said that just enjoy what you're doing, through just awareness. This is what Parmeet is always talking about, through meditation. He kept on repeating about meditation, and again, like we said, in is the only way out, so that you can be aware of what you're doing, why you're doing. And as you're growing up and taking more responsibilities, you don't have that frowned upon, worn out face. You're happy, you're enjoying the process, and you're loving it.
Hmm. And I also want to mention that, all this is to say that, as we mentioned before, you cannot control what's outside of you. You can control this inside of you. And certainly, this theme has been followed in other spiritual uh, teachings as well, be it Stoicism, and certainly I've seen this in Vipassana as well. So that is to say, I'm not sure if, I mean, this is consistent throughout spiritual teachings, right? He also said that if the other person is 100% your way, that's basically slavery. So essentially, you don't want that as well, right? And
Yeah.
people, we see that in the world. Uh, People do act a certain way to please other people, be it for economic reasons or social reasons or peer pressure.
Yeah. You
Or
see, that was a very interesting point to me, because I've always believed in. So I was a very impatient person before. I had no room for like tackiness or laziness, etc., etc., and I always used to jump to conclusion, and that was something that really bothered me, because Sadhguru said that if you want to be happy, other people are also looking for the same thing.
yes,
Like if we might think that XYZ is like always grumpy, always miserable, blah 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 blah. No, they also want to be not miserable. They also want to be joyful. These are the two words that he kept on repeating: joy and misery, joy and misery.
yeah,
So he
basically
said,
polar opposites.
yeah, so he said that they are also looking to be happy. And personally, my anecdotal thing is that I stopped thinking this way, because I realized that, look, I have my battles. I also am going through a lot of challenges every day, physiological, family related, friend related, mental, financial, etc., etc. Then I started thinking that the other person is also going through the same thing. So let's just not add to their misery, let's not add to their problems, and let's just take a step back. So this is what he said, that if your partner or your friend XYZ, if you think that they're trying to make your life miserable, that's not the case, because they don't also want to be with a miserable person. They also want to be joyful. And that was a very beautiful realization.
Yes, agreed. And this is why, essentially, this is why you're miserable, because you're compulsively reacting rather than consciously responding to situations around you. When we compulsively react to situations around us, we give power to the external forces around us, be it people, be it certain material objects, be it in socially, economically, money, whatever it may be, we give them power to influence our behavior. Certain things happen a certain way, which can ignite a certain kind of reaction in us. If X happens, you can almost imagine we would respond with Y. If A happens, you would respond with B. So, all in all, this in a way is a form of slavery as well, because you can predict by putting in certain external energy around you what kind of reaction they can get out of you. So essentially, you are giving power. If you're compulsively reacting rather than consciously responding, you are giving power to your outside, be it people or material objects, to affect you and make you miserable. So how you can go from compulsively reacting to consciously responding is being aware of your thoughts and your actions. Perhaps what you think is what you act upon. Essentially, how you break that chain is by being aware of your thoughts. Essentially, your mind is an algorithm. Whatever you feed it, that's what it responds to you. You put a certain kind of input, it will give you a certain kind of output. If there is misery around you, that is the kind of output you will get. You input misery, you misery in, misery out. As they say, trash in, trash out. How you change that is you don't let the trash coming in affect you. You be in control of that. Essentially, we've said this before. Only thing you're in control of, not the, you can change the energy around you, but essentially what you can change is how you respond to that energy by just creating a gap between your thoughts and your actions. You can choose to consciously respond rather than compulsively react, and take control of your life and essentially get rid of all the misery and stresses of your life. This is in no way an easy thing to do. It's a process, it's a learning, but it all starts from awareness. It all starts from, uh, see, we always say like understanding a problem is half the solution, right? If you don't recognize a problem for a problem, you're blindsided to it, and you'll never even work towards finding a conclusion. When you become aware of a problem, that's when you start working towards a solution, or perhaps seek solution, or have curiosity to find answers. But if you're not even curious, if you don't see it for a problem, if you see misery and stress as a part of life, then unfortunately you're blindsided to it, you're brainwashed. Sorry to say, because that's not how life is supposed to be. Life is supposed to be joyous, life is supposed to be full of happiness, life is supposed to be of love. These expressions are what we're born with, but unfortunately we live in a world where we have so much external energy around us. We take on so much misery, we take on so much stress, that it changes our internal chemistry, if you want
Oh
to
yeah,
put it
for
that way.
sure. He mentioned this very particularly, that if there is a way to achieve joyfulness, we still tend to stick with things which we're familiar with, yani the miserable things.
Yes.
If there is a new method, if there is a new way, we'll not look into this because that's unfamiliar. We'll stick with the things that are causing us misery because they're familiar. And that is so true. Human beings are just afraid of trying new things, just taking a new route because they're unfamiliar with it. Unfamiliar territory to them is scary. To them, it's unknown, and they don't know the depths of it. But sometimes it's great. I mean, for us as well, this was a new experience, especially for me. I haven't been a spiritual person, but now, I mean, through this wiser journey, being with Parmeet, I feel like everything is coming home because there were so many relatable topics that they were talking about. Another important thing that he said, that nowadays life has become so easy, and like
Conveniences,
conveniences.
technology,
And
comfort and conveniences,
yeah,
yeah.
and the term that they say, that good times make for weak men, and weak men make for bad times, and then bad times make for strong men, and strong men make for good times. So it's an entire cycle. But unfortunately nowadays, I feel like we're in the most extreme of times, because he said that right now, so he gave the example of Dubai, right? He said that about 50, 60, 70 years ago, the forefathers or the founders of the people of Dubai and the UAE, they were living in tents in harsh desert condition. Now he said that that doesn't mean that they were more miserable or joyful. That's a separate thing. But in regards to convenience and comfort, right? But they could also be happy at the same time. In fact, more happy, because he said that, you see, at that time people were just only thinking about survival. So when you have a purpose as strong as just surviving, your entire time, your entire energy is being consumed into that. But nowadays, when our survival needs are met, he said that people don't know what to do afterwards. And it's so true. And he said this, he kept saying this word. He said that since people don't know what to do after because their survival needs are met, like, again, at a snap I can have food, at a snap I have water, I don't need to go and carry miles to
Basic
have.
needs.
Exactly. And he said that when people don't know what to do afterwards, after their survival needs are being met, they do freaky things.
Yeah.
And of course, by freaky things, he meant people try finding happiness in bottles, in like cigarettes, drugs, etc., friends, blah
Alcohol,
blah
yeah.
blah blah. So basically, essentially, what he was trying to say was that people are trying to find happiness outside. Like Parmeet was mentioning a moment ago, happiness is something that we are born with. Happiness, I mean, when we're babies, we're kids, are we there is ignorance, and that's why they say ignorance is bliss, because we're just so happy, we don't care about anything in the world. And as we start taking information, as our brain starts getting programmed by these algorithms and things of the complex modern society, this capitalist society, we start becoming miserable, unhappy. So that was the thing. He Sadhguru mentioned that happiness is just something that is inherently within us, innately within us, and we do not need to find happiness in other people, in our family, in our friends, in these exogenous, in a bottle, in a cigar, in a drug, or in anything. It is literally in us. And he said, he was mentioning his journey. You guys can go look up his origin story and everything. But what he said, that the first time he felt true ecstasy was when he just started to detach himself from the world, and that was through meditation.
Meditations, yes.
You want to talk a little bit about that? Because I
Yeah,
mean,
we'll
you
come to
have,
the meditation
yeah.
part. I just wanted to mention one more thing. So there was a study done where they did a study on 400 men and
Mm.
I think 400 women separately, and they were given the choice of sitting alone with their thoughts for 15 minutes or pressing a button and taking an electric shock. And it's surprising that 83% of men chose to take that electric shock rather than just sitting alone with their
With the
thoughts.
thoughts.
So that goes to show you how big of an epidemic this is.
It is
Suicide rates are at the highest.
at the highest, yeah.
As technology has evolved, as we've become more comfortable and convenient in our lives, suicidal rates have gone up simultaneously. And it's really a problem because if you're not even able to sit with your own thoughts for merely 15 minutes, what are you going to do? You're going to go look for distractions outside you, right? And those distractions, what they do is they bring us stress, they bring us misery,
Self-destruction.
self destruction, basically. So we start involving ourselves in self destructive
Yeah.
practices. And that's only because we don't have the tools or necessary knowledge to deal with our own self,
Yeah,
which is,
with like creating happiness with own, like it's like,
yes, just
yeah,
having
yeah,
having a sense of inner dialogue, having an
yes,
awareness of your thoughts, having an awareness of energy, what you're feeling, how you're responding to people, how different people are influencing you, right? And we mentioned this before. You get 70,000 thoughts per day. On a general basis, 40% of those thoughts are negative. But that's not to say your thoughts are not you. They do not describe you. Everybody has negative and positive thoughts, right? It's about just learning to being aware of those negative thoughts and choosing to ignore them or not act on them and cherry picking the positive thoughts. And that's honestly as simple and as easy we can put it in words. In practice, it's a lot harder because you cannot ever be fully aware of all your thoughts all the time. But the beauty of it is you can keep growing. It's a process. You keep improving. The more meditation you practice, again, I'm not uh, suggesting any specific way of meditation. Try what works for you. But meditation is just a practice of being observant of your thoughts. And as you be more observant of your thoughts, you will be more aware of them. And you will recognize those thoughts for what they are, be it positive or negative. And there's certainly thousands of types of meditations that you can try out, whatever works for you. But certainly, I think it is as important as food and water
correct.
because yeah, your basic needs are fulfilled, but after that, if you're going into misery, then essentially it is leading you
It
to
is what I was telling you. I was telling Parmeet. So while during this entire thing, we were having a conversation. I told Parmeet, if I do not have, okay, so I personally am trying to meditate as much as I can, and definitely now I'm every day being more exposed to this idea and to the actual like
idea of
yeah, like results and everything. My self belief is increasing. It's just about execution from my end. However, what I do every day and what I've always talked about, and how this journey of my life, this enlightenment also came, was through just self talk. I told Parmeet, like, every day that I wake up, if I do not have that 15 to 20 minutes conversation with myself, I will go insane. Sadhguru said the same thing, that, like, we're working hard, we're doing this, we're doing that, like, just amazing the way technology and everything the world is going. But we do not take a step back, we do not take time out to address the turmoil within. He used that word, he said that there is a turmoil within. And that's why people, like Parmeet was saying, that's what leads to suicide and everything. This might sound trivial or ancillary, or like a bunch of hobo stuff, but it is true for me as well. Those 70,000 thoughts, or what happened with the past day, or things that are just lingering on, I must address them, I must confront them, I must talk about them to myself, because the answers are within. And there's only a need to just step back, give yourself that room, give yourself that time daily. It is definitely as important as food, water, sex, or anything,
Any basic need.
any basic need a human might need. And he used a couple of terminologies and everything, but he said, I mean, we're going to add in the description, but endocrine receptors or something, he said.
Endocannabinoids.
Yeah,
Cannabinoids.
I'm butchering it, but what Parmeet said, he said that once you go through that meditative process, the 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 they just
Chemistry
increase
within.
so much more than a sexual orgasm, or
Yeah.
any blissful thing that you might think of. Like, the ecstasy of it is so much, and he has experienced it,
Yeah.
I have experienced it in our own ways. And I can say for sure, like, it is truly an incredible feeling, which literally leaves you craving for more.
Certainly. I say this all the time. I'm the biggest advocate of meditation because it's done wonders for me. Uh, and it's funny how you go through a trajectory of life and you have to almost have a wake up call, or something bad needs to happen for us to realize and come to conclusion where we start looking for
Mm,
answers. I'm Maybe it was a blessing in disguise. I'm glad that happened way early for me. For a lot of people, it happens way later in life
yeah.
because they're chasing money, and then once that is fulfilled, then they come to the question, okay, what is next? Because
Mm,
this was not it, right?
exactly.
And somebody said this as well. Remind me which actor said this. There was an actor said
Oh,
this. I wish everybody makes $500 million, and because
oh, that was
they
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey said, "Yeah, I hope everybody makes a lot of money
Huh.
to just to find out that that is
Yeah.
not the answer, and then you then go out, then go on looking for answers." So 2 years ago, I've been meditating here and there since 5 6 years, but I was certainly like that as well. 5 minutes here and there, not really understanding the benefits of it, not really realizing the benefits of it, not really seeing any benefits of it practically in my lifestyle. Uh, but as I fully surrendered to the practice, accepted it, and got into it, it's the most transformational thing you can do for yourself, and not just for yourself, for people around you as well. I know people always, whoever I recommend it to, it doesn't work for me, or it you gotta trust the process, and you gotta give it time. If you go to the gym one day in the whole year and expect to be healthy, that's not how it works. Everything life
Yeah.
is, it's all about consistency. Albert Einstein said compound is the eighth wonder of the world. Who understands it
Mm.
earns from it. He who doesn't understands it pays it. So it's all about consistency. Even as little as 5 minutes of meditative practice per day, consistently over a period of time, will bring you so many benefits, not just on a happiness level, but it improves your focus, it improves your sleep, it gives you more clarity, it improves your cognition. Dr. Andrew Huberman, who's one of the biggest neuroscientists in the world, he has a podcast as well called
Huberman Project.
Huberman
Lab, sorry.
Huberman Lab. Huberman Lab, yeah. They're researching on a 5 minute meditative practice. You can check them out on their website as well. We'll link it in the description below. And don't go from people's opinions or experiences, because they're certainly subjective. But here's a guy who's extremely well educated on the subject and has put in a lot of money to conduct research and give you proof that it really works. And there's a reason why the most successful people in the world who are also happy do this. So I feel like the biggest thing that you can do for yourself in 2024 is give yourself 5 minutes to meditate. If you don't know how to do it, we also have a video on that. You can check it out. Just 5 minutes, let's say 4 times a week. Just 5 minutes. It's literally nothing. We scroll on our phones for hours and hours. Netflix, YouTube, this and that. So many distractions. Endless, endless, endless. Invest 5 minutes on yourself. Do it without fail for at least 6 months to a year, and you will see the benefits for yourself. And then if you don't see
Mm.
it, then we understand.
Yeah, I
You
wanna
can,
I wanna assert a quick point here as well. Remember the study that Parmeet mentioned that people would rather take an electric shock than spend time with them. So just understand the gravity of that. This might be like, I mean, the reason why, for example, I might not be doing it or you might not be doing it is only because that it might be tough. It might be tough to spend time with your thoughts. It might be tough to address the voices in your head. So that's fine. So just understand that it's not an easy ask as well for you. Once you start, of course, everything in life comes easy when you have practice, but just understand that this is the heaviness of this task is too much. So that you also have,
anticipation, yeah.
yeah, so you also have that expectation that you're going into something. Look, overcoming your mind is definitely the goal of life. It's definitely what we're uh,
Yes.
trying to do ourselves as well. And the purpose of this, one of the purpose of the podcast, but definitely it is a goal of life to have certain control of your mind. So just understand that the gravity of this task. But definitely, like Parmeet said, it's the best thing that you can do for yourself.
And I feel like people, the anticipation of being and staying with their thoughts really paralyzes them, is
Yeah.
because you have to realize first that you are not your thoughts. Just you can observe this in yourself. Certainly, throughout the day, there is certain thoughts that you get and you're disgusted by it.
Mm.
Everybody does. Everybody gets certain thoughts that you're disgusted by, or they're certainly negative, or you don't act on them, right? But they're on the extreme level. So just realize that you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts are just a result of the algorithm that is your mind. And your mind is, most of it is obviously subconscious, and your subconscious mind, 95% of it is developed until the age of 7, which is not even in your control. It's just developed by your surrounding and how it is. You didn't consciously choose on certain inputs for that algorithm to give you a specific output. Inputs have already been decided, and algorithm is already somewhat fucked. So you need to, you can be aware of the output
Mm.
and consciously not attach yourself to it, and just be conscious and aware of your energy and act on the right kind of energy. When you take a certain action, that's when you reinforce that habit in yourself. So if you keep repeating a certain action, that's when you establish certain habits. So the gap needs to be created between thoughts and action. Then you need to understand you are not your thoughts. You can choose your thoughts and choose to act on certain thoughts that really serve you. I remember, I just want to come to this. Yesterday, when Sadhguru said we're going to do like a 20-25 minute meditation, and Anas's first reaction was like, he was frowned. He's like, bro, I've never done more than 5 minutes of meditation. And certainly, you want to share why, how did that?
Yeah, so you want to tell me, you want me to tell them about the whole experience as well and everything, like from my perspective?
Sure, sure, sure,
Okay,
sure.
so
But
yeah,
also, I want to know, like, because I feel like a lot of people have the same kind of reaction. So, and that was certainly very like first intuitive, impulsive.
for
Thought
sure.
you're like, bro, I've never meditated more than
Yeah.
5 minutes, and I saw the frown on your face, and I was like, bro, relax, I'll be okay.
Mm.
You just need to breathe. It's not that hard.
And see, that was when I said, and we're like 4.5 hours in. And this is the last part. So I was like, damn, yeah. I mean, like 25 minutes. I haven't done more than 5 minutes. So he was like, it's fine, and you literally just have to sit and breathe. So I was like, okay. let's go for it. I mean, we have been doing this for a while, and he has coached us into the past 4.5 hours was to just cleanse our mind, get us into a focus mode for meditation. So, I mean, yeah, Sadhguru, then I believe he just initiated it. He just told us that to sit, relax, take off any heavy jewelry or any bags or anything, so that our focus is not on our body and is just on our mind. Then he just asked us to close our
Within our
eyes.
body, are not outside. Yeah.
Yeah, so he just asked us to close our eyes, and then I think someone else took over. It was
No,
a,
it was himself. He was narrating. It was sort of a guided
yeah. So that was
meditative.
his voice.
It was. It was.
Ah,
Yeah, it was sort of a guided meditative practice, and he sort of takes you through a journey, which I don't really want to get into personally, like not to the details of it, because it doesn't resonate with me
yeah,
personally. But it's one of them. I'm sure a lot of people who were there did benefit from it. I did
yeah.
as well to a certain extent.
It was something like, I mean, if you do, because I get, like, and I was sharing this with Parmeet, I get why it was done like that, because like I
Yeah,
said, like I was saying, the gravity of this task is huge. And if you, I mean, if I ask you to just close your eyes, breathe, and just sit there for 20 minutes,
people need to be guided.
yeah, you might do more harm than good, because then if you're not like, if you're not how do I say, educated enough or
Yeah.
guided enough, those negative thoughts, that turmoil might just
Hmm.
take over you. So
Yeah.
I get why it was done, because it felt like a story. If you want to share, I
Yeah.
mean, I think you
Perhaps
do.
like I,
Yeah,
because I'm experienced in this,
yeah.
I have a certain way of doing it, so that's why maybe I didn't
Like you're
resonate with it so
more
much.
prepared for
But
it,
he
right?
was basically, it
Yeah,
was a guided meditation where he was taking you through a journey of cleansing your body and your soul and your energy, and basically taking out consciously, being aware and recognizing all the fears, the jealousy, the misery within you, and one by one just breathing it out. And
yeah.
it might sound
So look, while that was happening, it was, look, like, in the entire thing, positive, good, everything great, right? But while that was happening, like I started noticing people even before that starting meditation, they started taking off their shoes, and they're like ready with their stuff. So you see that they're game. And so while that happened, this was like in the 17th or the 16th minute of the meditation. Like Parmi said, Sadhguru was like, collect your jealousy over here in the navel area, then move it out through your throat and everything. So while he said that, bring it here to the
the
opening of your
yeah,
mouth,
yeah.
and then just blow it out like a black bubble. And there was, I don't know, there was
There
like
were
a,
certain screams and shouting, and
yeah, and music
it's
effect and everything. I was prepared. I was like, if
yeah.
people start, because
It
it
was a
felt
bit cinematic and dramatic
cinematic,
in a
yeah,
way, for
like a
sure.
zombie apocalypse or something. Like people
Yeah,
were actually like making those sounds. I was ready. I was
yeah,
ready. I because and I felt like that was unfair to me as well, because that took me out of my meditative state and put
yeah.
me in a defensive state, because here are people literally shouting and
Naturally,
crying, and
yeah.
I get
Not
that.
all, certainly, and I don't
Yeah,
think Sadhguru himself. I'm not sure here, so
yeah. No,
I
I
don't want
don't
to
think he
make
would be appreciative of that for
I don't
sure.
want to make
Yeah,
any claims, but from my perspective,
yeah,
certainly, like it's.
yeah. That was.
I'm not
Uh,
very aware of uh, the reasons behind those behaviors.
no, it
Perhaps
was
it might be very profound,
individualistic. Yeah, it
yeah,
was. Yeah,
individualistic, but perhaps it
yeah,
might be just to give them the benefit of the doubt,
yeah.
as I always do. Look at everything positively, and your life will be positive. Just to give them the benefit of the doubt. Perhaps it was a very profound experience for them, but in no certain way, if you're in just regarding everybody else's
Hmm.
presence and practice and respecting that, it's not helpful unless everybody's doing
And
it.
you've told me that there are certain meditations and places for this, like the
Yes,
pillow thing, and
there is, yeah, there is certain there is certain meditative practices where you that do involve shouting and screaming, and there is a certain intention behind those. uh, but yeah, you can look into them, and there's Google is at your fingertips.
but overall, since you asked me, I mean, it was definitely, I learned a lot. I learned a ton, and I feel like there were two things for me. There was a certain validation for me that in is the only way out. I mean, I would probably use this as my tagline. Definitely, this is what brought me out of my like dark period and into a more enlightened period, and definitely things have been phenomenal. And the second thing is that my idea towards the effectiveness and the potency of meditation, me as a person, I mean, from Parmeet, that's like a yin yang relationship when it comes to meditation, and he has always encouraged me, always pushed me to do it. And he said that, look, what you're doing so far, I'm very proud of you and the person that you've become. But if you start meditation, just imagine where you can end up. So I would highly recommend, I mean, listening to Sadhguru as well, to other podcasts of ours as well, because this is what we're trying to communicate.
Yeah.
And I would definitely recommend going with a friend, going alone, but do definitely attend these things. Look, to thank you, I mean, for a friend like him to always come up with these ideas, and like just pushing me, because me as a person, I would never attend a spiritual seminar for 5 hours. But look, this is what we say, good company is just, this is the benefit that it brings you.
And likewise, like you being that person benefits me in a lot of ways as well. And it's just about surrounding yourself with that energy. I just want to conclude with one thing, that is, technology is only as good as how well you use it. Technology can be destructive for you, or technology can be very helpful for you. It just comes down to how well you use it. And the most complicated thing in this world is our mind. So if you know how to use it, it will help you. If you don't know how to use it, it will lead you to destruction. The concluding point is, in is the only way out, but to go in and to understand this, meditation is the practice for that
Yes,
and is
sir.
the solution for that. Certainly, there's different ways of doing it. What way you want to take on is totally up to you. I do certainly believe one practice is not for everyone. There is no practice in this world that is for everyone. So try that. That is why we have different types for everything, so it can suit different people. So, but meditation, I genuinely believe, is for everyone. It's just like food and water. It's a necessity, especially in this world where we're going through an epidemic of sadness and loneliness. Like, never have people ever felt this lonely. Uh, so try that out for yourself. Any last words on us?
I think you summed it up, you nailed it.
So I just really want to thank everyone for being a part of this. You guys taking on this energy and improving your life certainly benefits us as well, because this is our surrounding. We really appreciate you taking charge and control of your life and bringing that happiness and joyous energy within you and around you to not just transform your own life but people around you as well. And we really appreciate you supporting yourself and then supporting us. If this is of any help, please share it with whoever you can. And we really appreciate your support. We'll see you next Sunday.
Ciao, guys.